Hello.
Hello. There we go. That works. Welcome to the Living Well podcast. My name is Dr. Perrin, and today we're going to be talking about pop culture and therapy.
Again. Or still.
Still, part two. With me, as always, is my trusty sidekick and producer, Pablo Madrigal, and my dog, Theodore Roosevelt.
Teddy.
All right. So, Pablo, where are we
He
getting
loves to
started with
come up.
today?
All right. I'm gonna make a quick adjustment here real quick. And bam. Look at that. R2. Here we go. Ready to go. Yeah, so we were having a very interesting conversation last week. We wanted to continue. There's a lot more to explore. There's a lot more to talk about, and I think talking about video games, because it's definitely something that bonded us and something that we enjoy as our hobby and pastime. It's a lot to talk about there, and I think that there's still a lot of misconceptions, misunderstandings, and some might be true and some might be you know not necessarily based, right? So we're gonna keep talking about that. And then I read an article earlier this week that I thought it was kind of relevant to um, pop culture at large.
Yeah, this is the music article, right? For
That's right.
music geeks.
Yeah, that's right. Do you want to give us a quick little intro for our new
Sure.
friends out there?
You intro to the show or intro to the article?
To the show.
Yeah. Well, oh gosh, have we actually practiced an intro? Here we are talking about psychology and psychotherapy. Hopefully we touch something on something that's relevant. I'm a psychologist in the great state of Ohio. I work with adults with a wide range of issues, some of whom are geeks like myself. And very often we get to use pop culture or our knowledge of games and gaming to even gamify their goals. And I'm hoping that we get to talk a little bit more about that today.
Amazing. I want a quick reminder that we are streaming live on X and on YouTube. If you're new to the show, hit the subscribe button on wherever platform you're at. If you're watching this in the future, give it a like, give us a comment, send Dr. Perrin a note on X. He reads all of them. We go through them as we prepare for the show, and we might actually make it a bit of a section where we go through some of the comments on the feed and talk about that.
Yeah, I had last week I asked what fictional character helped you to understand yourself better, and I have 80 comments. I have 80 comments. I
That's
can't
awesome.
even read all of them, but I want that to highlight that people have used pop culture, people have used characters from pop culture to relate or to guide them through their own personal issues. Like that people don't choose their heroes arbitrarily. These I'm scrolling through them right now, and I'm hearing things like these characters helped me through my childhood.
What are your highlights? Any that stand out? Anything you want to give a shout out to?
I'm just gonna scroll through and find people who actually explained how they helped instead of just specifically Darth Vader. I'm seeing two Darth Vaders. Yeah, Doctor Who. I'm seeing Doctor Who got me through my childhood. Um, let's see, Jay Gatsby, God, Don Draper. Where's an example? Dr. Jekyll and Hyde.
Interesting.
Helped me get it. Helped me get through a big exam that I was struggling with. Yeah, here we go. So here for honesty says Elizabeth Olsen as Martha and Marcy May and Marlene in the movie Martha Macy May Marlene. I don't know what that movie is, but apparently it was really great for PTSD and it helped them get through their PTSD. Yeah, here we go. Elise Macchia says, Anne Shirley when I was a kid. The entirety of Anne of Green Gables series got me through childhood. I've actually heard this a lot. Anne of Green Gables, especially for young women, apparently it deals with a lot of issues. And my understanding is that this series goes through this character from her childhood even through her old age. So it gives a big developmental outlook of womanhood. I personally have not finished it. I started reading it for a girl I had a crush on, but when the relationship didn't work out, I stopped reading Anne of Green Gables. Hermione Granger, it's one of your favorites.
That's right.
Yeah, no, I could do this all day. I think it's remarkable. Mike Stimley says Justine Steelbreaker. She's anxious and depressed because she senses what's coming and nobody else does. But then when it finally comes, everyone else gets anxious and depressed while she is calm and serene. Oh gosh, how many times has that happened in our life? Yeah. Even Maleficent and Alice. I don't hear Maleficent every day, but my understanding is her movies did go into some her later movies did go into some depth. But yeah, I could read this all day. People are moved by these characters and these stories, and I'm really hoping we can tap into why that is and how these characters help. But you found an article about a musician, so like this is music is another area of geek. I know music geeks, I know football geeks, I know movie geeks.
Yeah.
You found a musician who talked about his own therapy journey and the importance of therapy.
Yeah,
Can you
that's
tell me a
right.
little bit more about this?
Sure. You already know, but I'm a big rock head, music head, just in general.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
just steal your music playlist instead of making my own. Like if I have a party coming up, I'll look up where are Pablo's party mixes. There we go. I'll take this one.
yeah, thank you. I love music and I love everything that has to do with music. I love musicians. I love reading about music in general. This came up on my feed the other day, and I thought it was really interesting. I wonder if the algorithm is now feeding me things that have to do with
Because they
psychotherapy
know you're producing a
because
mental health show.
because I'm in a mental health show. But anyway, I'm a big fan of Deftones. I've loved Deftones pretty much since they first came out. I've been listening to them since the early 2000s. Um, and Chino Moreno, great guy, incredible vocalist. And of course, like a lot of musicians, especially musicians that make it into late adulthood, they you know they have to become sober, because a lot of these musicians and a lot of what goes behind being a rock star is just being an absolute animal out there. Drugs, parties, alcohol, addictions, and it's a lot of what fuels the music, right? A lot of the times the content and the drama and just the strife of being a tortured musician is really, really what creates the best content. And I'm not the first to say, and certainly not the last, that once musicians go sober and once musicians get their shit together and their life in order, the quality of the output declines. Um, yeah, but I am happy to report that Deftones is not that. Deftones actually made quite a bit of a comeback. They put their first album, I believe, in like 10 years or something like that, and they really took their time. And they're bringing it back. But anyway, I thought that this was really interesting. I think just the title itself, it's a little bit wonky. Not really like how these guys made the title, but they definitely caught my eye, right? So you don't go to therapy once, they tell you how to feel, and then that's it, right? That's not how it goes. It's a journey, and it's a journey of discovery and a journey of growth. um a couple of things that stood out to me on this article is that he took a lot of the inspiration and a lot of his starting point for growth from a children's book. I actually wish
Oh,
they mentioned what the children's book was about. But yeah, so it said that where is it? Yeah, so it's a
my mind
that
my
basically
mind is oh, that's the song.
Yeah. No, My Mind is a Mountain is the name of the song.
It
Yeah.
says it's inspired by the title of a children's self-help book. So, oh, that he hadn't actually read. He probably just said, "My mind is a mountain," and went, "Oh, cool. That makes me think of a song."
Yeah. But see, here it says the book was actually written for kids to teach them about the emotions and how there are ups and downs, and it's okay to have emotions. I think that it's interesting to me. What's interesting to me is that we have here a full grown adult that is coming to the realization that it's okay to have emotions,
Oh yeah,
right?
Man
And
too, which is
yeah,
relevant.
Man too, which is relevant. So yeah, and he said I started taking these classes, and one of the classes was teaching you that it's the most natural thing to have spikes and emotions in all directions because surprise, surprise, we're human. Right.
Mhm.
And it's okay to have emotions, and a lot of these emotions drive what we do. And from from what I understand from the article is that he is now replacing the booze and the alcohol, um, and actually leaning into his emotions and tapping it for material, right? Which
Yeah.
yeah,
Which I find is the more natural outcome of people who are in a performing job in sobriety. I hear the fear a lot that their quality and their ability to, if they're a comedian, they're going to be less funny. If they're a musician, their music is going to degrade. But in my experience, it's quite the opposite. People become more consummate professionals in the quality of their work. Sometimes it does change. But remember, like even the Beatles, when they were going through their really crazy drug song, there some of those songs were bizarre. As like they sang a song about being in a yellow submarine, and I think the drummer wrote that one. He was so freaking high they had to scrape him off the ceiling with a rake just to come down and record the lyrics of that.
right, right,
Yeah,
right,
I,
right.
I don't actually think that it improved the quality of their music. In fact, if you actually see some of these performers, they're drunk on stage, their eyes are glazed over on stage, and even if they perform their music sober, they're sharper. But a lot of times it's not the lifestyle. It's not I'm a rock and roller and this is what we do. It's sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You need to understand when you do a performance, and especially if you play out like a large arena, and some of these musicians play in arenas with thousands and thousands of people, like sports arenas, cheering them on and having them sing, telling them that they love their music. There's no greater rush in the world.
Oh, I
uh,
can't
and
imagine. Yeah,
and then you go back to your hotel room.
yeah, and it's
you
quiet.
you're going to be doing cocaine just to keep that rush going, just
uh,
to be able to keep it to stay, to
yeah,
keep that high.
yeah,
Or you're going to be using a downer to come down from it so that you can get some sleep
yeah.
before 4 or 5 a.m.
We've also been talking about a lot and reinforcing about the importance of therapy and how the work is starts here, but it continues, and it really where it solidifies is the work that you do on your own, right? And you do
Mhm.
outside.
The
So
process.
that's why I thought here, this line right here, I thought is great to just reinforce what we keep saying. Goes as far as like mental health stuff. There's no fix. You don't go to therapy once and they tell you just how not to feel a certain way. You still got to work through stuff, but doing it with a clear head difference,
Mhm.
like, well, game changer. Why didn't I try this a long time ago? Wow. Who knew?
Yeah, well, as a therapist, I can say that happens more often than people may think.
Yeah.
But especially that point of just doing it once. And I see this a lot where I am, so I'm trained in a psychodynamic psychotherapy, which is ongoing and it's developmental, and it theoretically, so long as we're a human being, we're still developing, and therefore psychodynamic psychotherapy can be beneficial. But on the other end of the spectrum, you see people who say it needs to be very time limited. Very, very popularly, like 12 weeks seems to be like this magic number. 3 months, 90 days, it's enough to kind of change a behavior. But there are people that really just want one consultation. And sometimes you will just get a single session. If a patient only wants one session, they're only going to show up for one session. And you can try to do your best with it, but it's going to be very limited. I actually heard a story of Will Smith. Will Smith after the infamous slapping. What a lot of people don't understand is what movie he was filming before that. He was doing a very emotionally intense slavery movie where he was showing up day in and day out, very disempowered and I mean they were shouting some pretty obscene things at him, sometimes over and over as they record takes over and over and over and over again. And it's hard to switch that mindset out. So he came kind of ready to fight, and then he was embarrassed nationally. My understanding is that he went and he found a therapist who was trained in what we call motivational interviewing, which is just you meet with one person, you connect with their goals, you shake them up just a little bit, and then you send them on their way because you may never see them again. In this case, you're talking to one of the most famous celebrities on the planet. It's only going to be as long as he wants it to be. Now, I actually think that you're very limited in what you can do in a single session. And I'm sure that therapist did a lot of good with Will. And imagine what more he would get out of it if he continued to show up week after week to say, this is what I want to work on. This is what I want to overcome. This is what I want to develop. Maybe he wouldn't have come out with that really weird I Like Girls song that objectively makes people uncomfortable to listen to.
Yeah, that was not the best. That was not the move, I guess.
No, I think that was a reaction formation, and he tried to get ahead of something as opposed to actually genuinely healing and working on himself.
Right. Anyway, so yeah, I like this a lot. Actually, you know what? I want to share just one more little tidbit here. I wanted to get your take on this. What do you think about this line right here that says, when he was basically just comes from home, he was dealing with some stuff. He cracks open a beer, and his wife goes, "Why are you drinking a beer?" And he's like, "Oh, because I have this stuff because I have all this stuff, and that's the only thing that helps it, you know." And he was like,
Yep.
"Oh shit." That was kind of his realization. How do you think that is an easy thing to do? Do you think that there was totally a lead up to that to make that realization? How is that normal for people to just like have that kind of eureka moment like that?
It is, in my experience, it is usually a slap in the face, and other people see it like, yeah, of course you need therapy, man. Like, we've been telling you this for months, like, you're not okay. But for them, there's often two different resistances. There's a resistance to the problem, and then there's a resistance to the solution. Like, nope, everything's fine. No, everything's fine. To, oh crap, something's not fine, but I can do it on my own. To, no, I probably need to talk to a professional about this. I was speaking very recently about a very common trend that I see in veterans with PTSD. I pick on Walmart all the time because Walmart triggers veterans like nobody's business. You can't, like, you're surrounded by people in very big crowds. Sometimes you're in a checkout lane where someone pins you in front of you and behind you, and there's no escape. Suddenly the PTSD spikes. And I cannot tell you how many times the eureka moment came around a Walmart visit where they're in their car and they're sending their wife in because they're having a panic attack and they can't go in themselves. Then they realize, wait a minute, it's too dangerous for me to go in, but on some level I know that it's safe enough for my wife to go in and shop on my behalf. And suddenly the gears grind. They go, nope, this must be what the PowerPoints were talking about when I was getting discharged. I might have trauma. Maybe I need to talk to somebody. But it can be like a slap in the face. Like, oh, this is that thing everyone talks about. This is trauma. Oh. And so what really stands out in this is this belief of, I can't have this. I can't tolerate this. I need this to survive.
Mhm.
That kind of extreme language, which is inaccurate. Nobody has exploded because they couldn't get to a beer in time to cope with their distress. Like nobody has needed a beer so much that their brain turned off. But you'll catch yourself with that language. I need this. I have to have this. I cannot tolerate my pain. That kind of language, that's usually the flag of, oh, I should probably deal with this.
Right. Interesting. Anyway, that was the other article.
Yeah, mad props to that. I really like people in these popular positions talking about their experiences because I find it's very humanizing. If it's an athlete talking about it, there was this really great tweet from The Rock where it wasn't even a tweet; it was a comment, and someone was saying like, hey, I'm depressed. Can you like yell at me to motivate me to, get off my butt and go to the gym? And his response was so heartfelt. He said, hey, that I don't want to do that because sometimes we're really tough on ourselves and it doesn't motivate us. It just chips us away. And we men, we tend to bottle things up. I actually think this is the best time to reach out to someone who loves you or reach out to a professional. Like go to the gym. But if you're wrestling with real demons, like, connect with people. And like I'm butchering this, mind you, but it was such a beautiful, heartfelt message. And because it came from The Rock, because it came from Dwayne Johnson, people paid more attention. If you're a music geek and you hear about this Deftones singer, you're more likely to take it seriously. If you're a movie geek and you hear an actor or a director talking about how therapy has improved their life, you're going to maybe overcome some of your own stigmas. The Prince of England, the former prince, the one that moved to California with his movie star wife,
Harry.
Yes,
It's
yes, the
Harry.
younger Harry. He went on a really big thing about mental health, especially male mental health, and he went on a big campaign tour to encourage men to seek help. And because he was the prince, people took his message more seriously. So I think that's a benefit. If you're a geek or if you have any fandom and somebody within your fandom talks about it, love it. I think it's great. More people should talk about the process and what it took for them to heal. One of my favorites is actually from Steve Martin. Steve Martin's autobiography. He actually talked about his struggle with anxiety and very severe anxiety. And he's this great comedian, but comedy has always been serious to him because he has an anxiety disorder. And it was really touching to hear his take on that because he's somebody that I admire as someone who likes comedy. Also terrific showrunner for the Only Murders in the Building. Gosh, great show.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
and he struggles
fun.
with social anxiety disorder. And I was actually really touched because he has a bound script of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which he did with John Candy, who passed away tragically in his 30s. And when he read one of John Candy's speeches and became tearful as he remembered his friend who died. And it was such a powerful moment because people don't see that side of their heroes. People don't see that side of their celebrities very often. But honestly, I think their human side is some of their most beautiful.
Vulnerability.
Oh yeah. Well, vulnerability in our heroes.
Yes. That's right. Anyway, that was great. Thank you for humoring me on that one. Continuing our conversation from last week. Let's talk more about gaming in terms of kind of like the psychology of playing games, or like maybe even how games are designed. I think at some point I want to definitely touch on want to touch on gaming addiction and gambling. I think that's a really interesting topic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just started talking about it briefly, and I touched a little bit on the positive things that people get out of gaming, including nostalgia. And I pulled up a whole bunch of research studies since then because I was thinking like there are tons of advantages that gaming give you, and I really wish that I could read them on screen. And one of the ones that really stuck out to me was they measured unconscious math in people who played first person shooters. So first person shooters in video game, it's you're from the perspective of whoever the hero is, and you're going to see the gun or the weapon that you're using in front of you, and you'll shoot as if you're aiming a firearm yourself. The most popular one of the most popular in this franchise is something called Call of Duty, and they specifically pulled from people who played this Call of Duty fast action paced first person shooters. And then they put a bunch of objects on the ground or on a table, and they asked how many objects are on the table. Now, someone who doesn't play video games can look at between 6 and 8 objects, and without counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they can tell you there are 6 to 8 objects, depending on how good you are. They found that people who played first-person shooters, or they controlled for this Call of Duty element, that they were getting between 8 and 12. So imagine looking at just dropping a whole bunch of Legos on a table, and there being 12 Legos, and someone looking at it and say there are 12 Legos on this table without counting 1, 2, 3, 4. It's remarkable how the brain develops based off of what you're practicing and what you're training. The thing is that a lot of research is biased. People aren't looking for these positive things. They're trying to find negative associations. So if you actually go into PubMed or EBSCO or some of the big journal article databases, you're more likely to find negative associations with gaming. Things like higher rates of obesity, or the one thing that people keep chasing is an association with aggression, which they can't find. No matter how many times they keep finding it, video games do not demonstrate an increased risk for violence. In fact, you actually see a decreased risk of violence even if people play violent games, because it seems they're able to do it in their imagination. They're able to exercise it in fantasy, and therefore they have the catharsis, and they're not seeking that violence in real life. The obesity one is kind of higher. You do tend to find people are more sedentary who play that. But there are controls for that. People who play on the Nintendo systems, the ones that require you to get up and move, people who are using virtual reality, they're finding is not there's less of the power difference in obesity.
Well, the classic stereotype of the World of Warcraft gamer, right? The South Park guy, like no life guy with the chips on the belly and "Urgh, urgh."
Right. Which I think is what people kind of chase. Now the stereotype exists. Now the a lot of times these people are not terribly well. They have a social anxiety disorder. They are already obese. They are already in a sedentary life. Uh, some people prefer that. Like they want that lifestyle. I differentiate between people who want to stay home and play video games and people who are afraid of going out and socializing. If they are motivated by fear and they stay at home because they don't want to embarrass themselves, that's a different conversation from somebody who is maybe just a little bit more schizoid and say, or just says, gosh darn it, it's my hobby. I love playing video games. I haven't been able to play video games so much since the children were born. And oh boy, do I miss being able to just sneak away and play for hours on end. I can't do that anymore. I'm a grown man with a job.
Yeah. So video games give you a lot of guardrails and a lot of structures, right? That you have to, and rules that you have to follow. Why do we feel motivated when those when those guardrails and those structures are there.
Well,
Um,
predictable. It can become predictable, and you can replay. You get shot storming Utah Beach or Normandy in a World War II sim, you can respawn on that boat. It's very reassuring to have those rules. And there are some people where they will play the same old game over and over and over and over again because they understand the rules and those limitations. There is comfort and safety in knowing the confines. Compare that with reality, where there's no guarantees, there's no save button, there's no reload button. Now, violence would be an extreme example, but social interactions are just as big. If you don't like a dialogue choice in a video game, you can quit and reload it until you have a better outcome. You go to a party, and that's it. Don't be weird. So,
Easier said than done.
right. Well, you're gonna be weird. You may as well enjoy yourself and be weird. But that comes from practice. You have to be weird at enough parties and survive being weird at enough parties to know, hey, that's fine. I'm going to go to a party and be weird, as opposed to I'm afraid of being weird or perceived as weird, so I'm not going to go to this party. I'm going to stay home and play World of Warcraft. Different motivation.
In that, can gaming mirror real world decision making?
Sometimes. I'm going to argue in favor of the RPG or role-playing game, whether it's pen and paper, tabletop, or it's very highly simulated. There are games, especially recently within the last 10 or 15 years, role-playing games have gotten very interactive where you can make really bizarre choices and go in a million different directions. I think The Witcher 3, Red Dead Redemption 2, Grand Theft Auto, historically in the franchise, has allowed you what they call a sandbox of options where you can, if you want to kill everybody you see, you can kill everybody you see and play a bad guy, or you could be a good guy and meticulously try to go and save every human being you can and try to go for like a 100% perfect playthrough. That creates an opportunity for you to play out different roles. Now, some people, I'm really boring. I just play myself in these video games because I can't fly, I can't shoot laser beams out of my eyeballs, I can't play football. So if I play Madden, I'm gonna make myself in a football position. If I'm playing Skyrim, I'm gonna play myself with, magic and a broadsword, because that's my way of fantasizing about me fighting dragons or me being in a post-apocalyptic future, et cetera, et cetera. Some people are bad at that. They want to play someone completely different. They actually role play, right? Maybe they're going to play somebody who is dumber than they are, or stronger than they are, or more charismatic than they are. They want to explore a part of themselves that they have not really fully explored, even if it's a different gender, or they want to play an orc and they're really ugly and they have teeth and an underbite, right? They get to play that version until they explore it. If you're a good guy and your murder is wrong, it'll get you in jail, but you can play Grand Theft Auto and run over old ladies. That's a great way to explore that and go, that actually feels weird. I don't like running over old ladies. Well, I'm glad I learned that in video games and trying that out in real life.
So
what
happens?
Role training.
So what happens psychologically when someone steps into another role, into another one of these characters?
It's there's a definition that I take from Jacob Levi Moreno, and he uses the term tele, which is the word root for like telepathy or television or anything like that. He calls it a deeper way of knowing. Very often you can empathize with somebody, but a deeper way of knowing is like, I can really feel as you or know as you. We do that with our characters in a video game. We try to inhibit those roles and try to understand this is what that feels like. Now that's different from you being like half tuned out and just, farming and et cetera, et cetera. sometimes it's really trying to inhibit that role. And I'm going to use the word role probably repeatedly as I keep describing this. You probably heard the term fake it till you make it. I don't like that term very much. You hear it a lot for this other thing called imposter syndrome, but we're technically all imposters. We have never done what we're doing with the totality of our knowledge and experience that we have. And even if we learn something new, we have never known that before. So we are now navigating the world with that new knowledge for the first time. We're essentially training for these different roles. Getting married, I think, is a really good example, right? Nobody knows how to be a husband or a wife. Having your first kid, you can read a book on how to have a kid. You can read dozens of books on how to have a kid. But once that kid is born, you are doing this for the first time. You are experiencing the frustration for the first time. You are getting crayons off the wall for the first time. And part of that is practice and training for that very role. As you're getting frustrated with your kid and, hopefully metacognitively evaluating yourself, going, wow, I'm getting really keyed up. I got to watch myself around my kid. I don't want to mess him up psychologically. You are updating your scripts. You are actually growing into that role. You are becoming a better parent. Video games mirror that process.
So in that, how come people, because not all people are good at playing role playing, not everybody can step into another character's shoes that is different. I mean, I would argue that you self included, because you always play yourself. That's to step into just someone that's completely different. So with that argument that every interaction that we have and every kind of new experience that we have is a new role that we're playing, what does allow people to step into another character, and whether it be like a countertop tabletop game or a video game or something like that, LARPing, whatever?
I really want to answer this by really looking at the mindset that some people have about what it means to even be a person. Some people have a very fixed mindset, like, I am who I am. There's no changing that. We finished developing at 18 and that's it. That's who we are, and we don't change. We just stay that forever. These people do not make very good role players, and they're probably not going out of their way to try out or expand their repertoire a little bit more. I think you have to really understand some people have a growth mindset, and they are genuinely trying to try out these different roles because they want to get something out of it. They're not just hoping that they fake it and nobody ever catches them. They're hoping that they will eventually make it to the point where they have the skill set, they know what to do, they're giving the correct answers. But again, that has to be done over and over and over again. I think about like med school. By the time someone actually becomes a physician, they have been through the ringer. They have done, they've been on call for 24 hours. They've had to answer questions and be awkward and not know, and then, contact their resident advisor and go, what is the correct answer? And they get it wrong enough times to the point where they start getting it right more. I feel like I'm losing my point here, but you actually have to know and believe that you can grow and change through the repetition and the practice. Otherwise, you're not going to. You're probably just going to be acting out a fantasy.
Yeah. So in a lot of these role-playing video games, there's a character creation screen, which I would argue is somewhat probably my favorite part of the game.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times
I'll spend hours in a character creation. Yeah.
Does that parallel the formation of our identity?
Oh yeah, especially if there are confines. So I'm playing a video game right now called The Outer Worlds 2, And the premise of this, or the goal set out by Obsidian, the company that made this game, is they want you to play the game over and over and over again. So it's shorter than a traditional role-playing game, and there are a bunch of different options because they want you to choose different options. But you get locked in with strengths and weaknesses. You cannot be good at everything. You have to pick one or two things that you can be good at, and then you pick one thing that you're bad at, and you roll with it. So you can be a lovable idiot in this game, where they'll ask you what's 2 + 2, and you'll go 5. They'll be like, "Oh, you're lucky, you're cute." And no matter how smart you actually are, your character is going to be dumb, and you play through that. But then you beat the game, and then you try out a different character with a different set of strengths and a different set of weaknesses. So this encourages the role training. This encourages the role playing. Versus somebody who only wants to play a game once, and they say, I want to be able to do everything, and I want to be God, and I want to be invincible, and I want to be able to do all of that stuff. Different motivation.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, not at all. Mine's not coming. What was I saying? Oh, yep, there goes mine.
There he is. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, we all have dogs, and we love our dogs. They're members of the family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Teddy with his frog hoodie because it's chilly.
Themselves known. Okay, so for anybody out there that is interested in role playing, maybe even running their own Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and maybe even for therapists. I would argue that as a DM, you tend to be kind of like the conductor, and the leader, and as a therapist, you're also leading your own kind of like little adventure. How can you guide the narrative without hijacking it, or like making yourself become the main character?
Yeah, I come from a tradition that uses the word, they take a lot of phrasing from theater. So if I'm a therapist and I am doing a group psychotherapy that is focused on some degree of role playing, I would call myself a director. I'm actually directing the encounters. I'm directing the interactions. But I am being very particular in not taking up space. Sometimes I'm physically walking behind my participants when I'm talking to them, so they don't see me. They're just interacting with sort of this nebulous voice. But I try very hard to just really take myself out of it. If I need to do any prompting whatsoever, I will speak from their perspective, and I will encourage them to either state it or correct it, or I'll finish with a fill in the blank, and I'll say what I really want to say to him is, and then I'll shut up and I'll stay back and I'll let them fill in their blanks. So there are techniques that we can use to highlight this, but it's very important to not, it's really important to not come in over prepared. If you all you need to know is thematically based off of their goals what to do. If one of the participants is dealing with bullying, include a bully. And what you do is you bully. So you might speak from the bully's perspective, and the guy might shy away, or he might fight back. You just keep speaking from the perspective of the bully. You let them tell you, I've had enough, or this is what I want to do with the bully, or, get out of there. You're not going to speak for them, but you're going to speak for the bully, and you're going to maybe say things from what you might think the bully will say. But you need to be empowering them. At some point in time, you might check in with them. Does this seem right with you? Does this seem accurate with you? How would you like this to go? And then they'll say, what I really want the bully to say is this. Okay, great. And then I'll say that from their perspective. So I don't know if I'm answering this question very effectively, but I think the point is you can be very deliberate in staying back. And you really want to, and you treat it like a director would. And you would treat your participants like the protagonist, and you soft pitch it, like you let the protagonist really lead the encounter, and you step back as much as possible.
Yeah, it even sounds to me that this role playing might even be a good way to process trauma. through your characters, right? I mean, you put yourself in the shoes of this big warrior that was not always a big warrior. Maybe was a lanky little, uh, powerless dude, but then worked through it, and then now works to defend the people or whatever. Just
It comes out in relationship. So when this comes out in a role playing environment, you actually will see the other party members. So if this were like Dungeons and Dragons, there would be a party composition. Everyone would have their different roles in a battle. And if the traumatized dude is in their trauma, and you'll see it because they'll be like, they'll be there and they'll be like, I don't know what to do. You will see the other characters coming in. You will see these as the term is an auxiliary. They will come in as auxiliaries and they will support them in ways they were not supported in their own trauma. And this is where the therapist really backs out, or the dungeon master or the director really steps back and lets the other party members come in to compensate for it. They might come in to rescue. They might fight the bad guy. They might protect them while fighting the bad guy. All of the things that they did not get when they had their own trauma. And then they're going to get tearful. And that's when the therapist kind of navigates that, but he encourages the interaction. Say what you need to say. What do you need to say to the bad guy right now? How would you like this interaction to go? Role play it. Don't tell me, show me. Show me what you're doing to the bad guy. Oh, I'm crumpling him up into a ball and I'm putting him into a box and I'm tying the box up and I'm sending it into outer space. Great. That's what we're going to do. You send bad guy into outer space, and we role play it. We actually, we can undo, redo, and then overcome. Oh, so let's see. First, we do the trauma, then we undo the trauma, and then we redo the trauma with the positive outcome, with the help of the teammates, with everyone coming together and having the satisfactory outcome. You can fudge dice rolls if you're doing dice rolls. You'll know when it's time for them to beat the bad guy.
And is there a risk of kind of losing yourself in the fantasy? Is there a risk to I don't know, kind of like take it too far?
Yeah, duration. I think if you're spending 8+ hours a day playing your favorite video game, or you can only if you have to like put on a cape and speak like an old-timey adventurer at the bar as you're as you're trying to talk to the cutest girl at the bar, you're gonna have some other problems. I think the biggest risk is the identification with the aggressor. Now, that's a very specific thing when you have been traumatized, especially if you've been abused or if you've been betrayed. If you are playing that theme out in a D&D environment, you need to make sure that the hero is always speaking from the perspective of the hero. If they are in a position where they get to speak for the bad guy or become the bad guy, it's very important that you kind of jump in, because they can start reenacting things that had been done to them. And I don't want to go into too many details. It can re-traumatize a person. You really do not want them to identify with the person who traumatized them.
Yeah. Interesting. I can totally see that happening. I mean,
Well, if you're checking in with the interactions, if you're doing it correctly, and you're having an auxiliary playing the villain, or you yourself are playing the villain, you want to check in with them frequently. Does this seem accurate to you? Is this what your character would say? And if they're responding very emotionally, and you could say, how would your character be doing it in this situation? And that helps ground them. You don't want to be able to say, what would the bad guy say? What would the bad guy do in this scenario? That would be making them connect with maybe their own abuser.
Yeah.
I hope I'm describing this well.
Yeah. No, that's scary.
If you know what you're doing, it's pretty easy to avoid that mistake. If you don't know what you're doing, maybe.
Yeah, gotcha. And talking about scary things and risky things in gaming, I think one of the things that's popped up on my feeds recently is gambling, gambling addiction via gaming. But
Yeah, the
most
loot
of all, and
boxes.
the most important is those gaming designs, the video game designs that are created to make you feel addictive, right?
Oh yeah.
The mobile games, loot boxes, all these little techniques like, oh, this thing costs 1,000 coins. If you buy this package that has 800 coins, we'll give you an extra 500. And then you're like, well, now I'm gonna have 300 left. If I buy 200, then I can buy the next pack,
Oh
but for
yeah.
only at a fraction of a
Oh,
price.
oh, just
It's
separating it in
insidious,
coins.
bro.
Oh, even just separating it into coins at all, like but you have to use real dollars to exchange it for game currency. The game currency
Oh
isn't
yeah,
real. So suddenly you
exactly.
can spend it more freely, and then you're like,
Right.
wait, I just spent $100 on these. How's it already gone? Because the game tokens aren't real. So you can
Yeah.
throw them away. $100 is very real. You can hold on to $100 and spend that very slowly. But
Not so much
1,000
void
tokens.
shards.
Yeah.
um,
No, it's designed by psychologists. Like, people of my guild have been hired and they have been told to study metrics, outcome measures, like PowerPoint, or not PowerPoint, Excel spreadsheets essentially of data, and to figure out World of Warcraft is a very good example because Blizzard hired data statisticians, psychometricians, to figure out drop rates. So drop rates are either for quest items or really powerful gear. Let's say you're fighting uh,
a raid boss,
a mob, like you're just fighting
just a
saber-tooth
regular
tigers,
guy. Sure.
right? And you're killing a saber-tooth tiger over and over and over and over again, but 1 out of 100 saber-tooth tigers drops a magical sword. A psychologist figured that out, that if it's fewer than 100, it won't be that exciting, and people aren't going to try that hard to get it because it's easy and everyone has that sword. But it can't be more than 100, because then the drop rate is too low and people will get bored and they'll say it's not worth my time and they'll move forward and do something else. So they hired psychologists and psychometricians to actually figure out what is just the right amount, what is the sweet spot to get them to keep going. Now, behaviorally, we can understand this. There are essentially these different configurations, from a fixed ratio or a variable ratio, and then there's a fixed interval and a variable interval. Now, these are behaviorism terms for a reinforcement schedule. If you look at gambling, I'm going to use slot machines as an example for this. If every 10 pulls of a slot machine is a win every time, that's not going to make someone addicted. They're just going to know to pull the lever 10 times to get the award. If it's random, you don't know, you're going to get a much bigger hit. So this variable ratio, or versus a fixed ratio, which is every 10, variable ratio is maybe it'll win in 1, maybe it'll win in 10, maybe it'll win in 100. You get one win, and that ding, that rush is going to be so high that you're going to keep going, because you're going, the next one might give it to me. The next one might give it to me. It's the same with time. If you knew that it was going to win every 5 minutes, you would just sit and wait for 5 minutes to go by, and then you pull the trigger. So behaviorists have studied this to an extreme degree, right? I just gave you a few of the permutations, but they will look at what is the frequency, how much of a variable ratio do we want to get them coming back. They figured that out for Endgame, for doing weeklies, for doing dailies, but they genuinely figured it out. And again, they hired behaviorists, they hired psychologists to do that. Airlines have done it too. They figured out how to. Yeah, how to
Their
make people
powers
just
for
uncomfortable.
evil.
Yeah, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it helps us understand what rewards us. So I used to play Xbox. The Xbox 360 was probably something that I would actually go achievement hunting for if a game was good enough. I would try to get all of the achievements because when you do something hard, it'll give a ding and it'll tell you what achievement you just did, like what hard challenge you just completed. And I'll go, "Ooh, that feels good. I want to get another one of those." And I'll look and I'll figure out all of them and I'll chase them and I'll end up spending more time on that game. It works. But then if you stop and you go, "Well, why does it work?" Okay, if I understand how it works, can I manufacture this? All right, if I know how to reward myself and I know how to get that addiction, how do I build it around my own goals? Suddenly, you are crushing it. You're going to the gym more frequently. You're giving yourself a reinforcement schedule for eating well. For me, when I started a business and I started tracking a bunch of outcome measures, including income, how much money I made that month, suddenly it triggers the same part of my brain that loved pinball. I want to go for the high score. How do I beat that next month? How do I beat that next month? How do I beat that next month? And so I spend more time on my business, or I spend more time trying to understand new ways to market, new ways to advertise, new ways to
Mhm.
sell. It's because I have used these tricks of gamification to accomplish my goals. It's how I do my dishes, it's how I do my laundry, it's how I do all the stuff that I don't want to do. I gamify it. I turn it into a game and I manufacture a reinforcement schedule or a reward schedule around it.
Um, so how do reward systems in the games are similar to this reinforcement of behavior?
Oh gosh, it really does not take much. You get a magical sword or you get a ding and it's something that says achievement unlocked. You
Yeah.
feel rewarded.
Right.
It,
You get
it,
that hit of dopamine right away.
I so
So
I've actually been playing the same version of trivia since I was 16 years old. It's called Buzz Time Trivia and it uses a box and you answer a multiple choice. And I was playing it recently and they actually added tokens. So if you get a history question correct, it says you got the history badge. If you get a science question correct, it says you just won the science badge. And I remember I started scratching my head and I said, they've never done this before. Oh, they're marketing to millennials and Gen Z because they've gamified it. They're giving us a variable ratio reinforcement schedule to keep us playing because I want to get all of the trivia trophies. I want to get all of the trivia awards, irrespective of whether or not I beat the bar. I win first place in the bar.
and uh and for those out there listening that think they are impervious to these or none of these are applicable to you, if you've even opened Duolingo, you have been a victim of this. I don't know if victim is the right word, but that owl victimizes you. You totally super bully. Um,
Oh gosh, even just getting notifications, ding, you haven't done Duolingo today.
you're like,
Oh,
wow.
I better do 5 minutes.
Well, but also when you actually complete the tasks, it gives you
Mhm.
this big fanfare. You're like,
Oh
wow,
yeah.
and the owl is all excited. Um, yeah, I see it all the time when I'm watching videos on YouTube. A lot of the content creators that I watch are sponsored by Boo.dev. You ever heard of this?
I have not.
It's a coding boot camp. And you can learn how to code. You learn, C++ and all of the coding languages to actually create websites, to create apps, to create video games. But the entire thing is designed as if it was an RPG, and it
Ooh.
has quests and side quests, and there's bosses that you have to defeat by
Heck yeah.
coding. And so this is literally the definition of
Mhm.
gamification. So they gamified um basically just, yeah, coding, right? And so of course the goal is that, or the idea is that the people who are interested in Boo.dev are going to eventually become, I don't know, video game designers or are interested in any kind of something like that, right?
Oh,
Otherwise, you
yeah.
wouldn't want to engage with that. But they are taking this thing that seems almost seemingly kind of like impenetrable if you're not, if you didn't go to tech school from the beginning. You're like, oh, actually I can play a game and learn how to code at the same time, and wow, that sounds kind of fun.
I think that is going to be the future of education. It's the perfect intersection of entertainment and education. That's how I learned to type when I was a kid. So I think when in the 90s, the big keyboarding software was like Mavis Beacon. Gosh, I'm dating myself with Mavis Beacon. But there was this one version that came out where if you keyboarded a whole sentence, uh like laser beams would come out, or there
Mhm.
would be like this bowling game that the ball would come out and it would get a strike, or if for there would just be bubbles, and if you type the word out really quickly the bubble will pop and you had to be there. I locked in because I have that gamer brain and I was going for the high score, and before I knew it I wrote a book. I was a kid, so it was just like it was like it was probably based off of some cartoon I was watching. But like because I was training and practicing to get better at that game, the only way for me to get better is to sit down at a word processor and start writing stuff out. I think that's going to be the future for a lot of things. Unfortunately, there is a catch, which is the internal motivation or the external motivation. So these games, if they're already developed where you have to do the tasks and you get the awards, very effective.
Mhm.
I saw a task version of this, which was based off of RPG and gamifying tasks, where you say what needs to be done. I need to do my laundry. I need to finish my term paper. I need to brush my teeth. And you can break it down to daily tasks like showering, brushing your teeth, weekly tasks to like changing your bed, et cetera, et cetera. And you assign experience points to them, and as you complete them, you click them, and it gives you an XP total. And I did that for about a week before I realized that I can just say that I completed a task, or I could put
Yeah,
high experience points and level up to level
yeah,
10 just by clicking it over and over and over again. And it defeated the purpose because I'm a grown ass man, and
yeah. You're
if
like,
I'm in control of my own
what
reinforcement
are you talking
schedule,
about?
it's not going to be as
Yeah.
effective.
Here, can I show you this? This is actually really fun. Check this out. Here, I'm gonna remove all these little guys here. Uncover your beautiful face. Here, look at this. This is really fun.
We're
So
gonna tag them in the comments so that they sponsor us in our
yeah,
next video.
check it out. Boot.dev. This is so much fun. This is a landing page, right? But you can already see. All right. So this is, you have
Yeah,
here
that
the
looks like
magical
Wizards of the
environment.
Coast. It looks like D&D.
Yeah, and then you're okay. This is just a demo. What do we want to learn? Pff, Python and Go. I don't know what any of those are. Okay, here you go.
Python's coding language.
Well, yeah, I know that much. Okay. How have you coded before? Nope, I'm totally new. Perfect. Here we
I
go.
know C++ because I studied it in 2002.
Okay, I'm not actually going to do this, but what I want to show you is the following part is, look at this. You said you go to with a quest, complete your quest before it expires. You get XP, you get a chest, you get 1,000 XP, you get a silver chest, you get a, I mean, I've played a game before. I know exactly what this means. I know that the golden chest has all the best goodies. I'm like, okay, let's go for the golden chest. Quest accepted. Oh my God, this is already so much fun.
The confetti bursting,
Yeah.
the colorful confetti that's giving you the dopamine.
So here's your quest. Here's what you have to do. Um, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, here's, okay, what do you want to do? Start your new career in tech. Whatever. Upskill my new current job, et cetera, just for fun. Whatever. Um, a lot of fun. What I'm saying, I just wanted to illustrate here that, I mean, you can actually use this to start a new career, and you're gamifying, right? And if you have even the slightest interest in video games, this might just be the way for you to do it, right?
Yeah, imagine if that existed for music. Rocksmith. It's a really good game that you can plug a guitar into, and it gives you a game, and it gives you points. And
Oh my
as you
God.
try to complete a game, you actually get better at playing a guitar. Sorry, my allergies are kicking up, so if you hear me getting congested or I get tearful, just know it's because I want you guys to do so well. I want you guys to just
It's
be
gonna
so
be
effective
okay.
with gamification.
Talk about these incentive languages, right? Like what they do for in gambling video games. Save your progress. I know what that is. I'm like, okay, I've actually
But
made some progress and I can
but
save
that's
it.
that this
You've
is what
gained
we
some
covered.
XP.
This is what we covered last week, and one of the benefits of and why I wanted to call geek a cultural competency in therapy is that you don't have to use psychobabble. I don't have to tell you that we are creating a variable ratio reinforcement schedule. I could tell you we're going to gamify this. We're going to play a game. We're going to save our progress. We're going to go after. We're going to go on quests. We're going to get experience points. We're going to allocate our skill. We're going to we leveled up. We now get to put a new point into a skill tree, and we get to allocate which skill tree we want to put our point into. This is a common language that if our clients game, they understand what we're talking about. And it's so much easier to get through to them by saying, I'm going to create, we're going to gamify this, and we're going to create trophies. We're going to get achievements out of it. I don't have to teach them advanced behaviorism. I get to speak a language they already know because they're geeks.
So can behaviorism learn anything from modern game design?
Oh, I think that we have.
Mhm.
It the mob figured out stuff before psychologists did with casinos when they realized, let's get rid of all the clocks, let's get rid of all the windows, let's have a bunch of blinking lights and really sharp sounds because it's stimulating. Let's keep giving them free alcohol because that means their inhibitions are going to be lowered and they might spend more money on the in they're going to spend more money than it costs to make these well drinks. The mob figured this out before psychologists did. Now psychologists understand it, but we worked backwards. We went to casinos and we said, how do we what is it about the casinos that are so addicting? And now we understand addiction better.
Mhm.
Psychologists are going to these games and they are looking at the data that these psychometricians have studied, and we are going, okay, how can we put this into real life? And I think that's why a lot of these companies, not even like this coding company, are using gamification to keep people's attention, to keep people engaged and motivated to completing tasks. And that's why I think the future of education is going to be gamification. You get someone like you or I who plays video games and is really tuned into this, and you give them a curriculum, they're gonna they're gonna outperform. So I actually want to give a shout out to one of my mentors, Dr. Patrick O'Connor. He tested this. Patrick O'Connor, he ran 2 Psych 101 courses at the same university. One which is a traditional curriculum with voluntary assignments for extra credit. And then he taught a gamification version of it where it had voluntary quests for experience points. And the tests were worth experience points. And the more experience, but the more experience points you get, the higher grade you have. So for this many experience points, it's an A. For this many experience points, it's a B, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And again, the exact same extra credit course load was offered. The amount of people who voluntarily took the extra credit in the control group in the standard course was about average. You're going to get maybe 5% of people, and they're the ones who are already getting an A. In the control group, in the gamification group, I believe half of the class completed all extra credit assignments within the first 2 weeks because they wanted to go on quests and they wanted to get experience points. So we've tested it. If you gamify a curriculum, people are going to spend more attention and be more motivated to complete those tasks. the moment we are able to create that, we can teach anything. Music, science, history, psychology, physics, gamify it. People are going to spend hours and hours and hours trying to win the game, and out of that they're going to become domain experts in a science or in a field.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's super interesting. And what is the psychology of the the inverse negative part of it, like all the mobile games, and how do they get you, like all these gotcha games, what is this gotcha thing that they do?
I really want to speak for individual case by case basis because I was really fascinated with Candy Crush.
Oh yeah.
The psychology around Candy Crush is in the resources. I think there are 3 different resources, and if you run out of them, you can't play. You have to wait, and it's like you'd get one more of that resource by waiting an hour, or if you spend $5, you can play right now and just keep playing. So that became a big motivator for them. I also was following Diablo Immortal.
Oh, Diablo Immortal. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, dude, that was crazy.
Well, I think their median spend was $5,000. Their medium customer spend was $5,000, which to find averages, medians are to control for outliers. So people who spend $0 and people who spend $100,000, because that's how much it costs.
Which
to level.
happened.
It happened with regularity.
Yeah.
But I actually think that when you get to a certain level, you spend money for what's the word?
The sunk cost
Just for the
fallacy.
cloud? No, just for
Oh.
the clout, just to show that you can. You told me a story of when you were working at the Greenbrier and someone was buying a ring for their date, and they said, "How
Oh,
much is
yeah.
it?" 80, and he goes, "Yeah, okay." That's
It was
flaunting.
like $80,000.
You're spending 80 because you can, to show off that $80,000 isn't a lot to you. I think people spent that not because they wanted to win at Diablo, but because they wanted to be one of the people who said, "I spent $108,000 to max out my character on Diablo."
Wow.
And the people who did it announced themselves. They made YouTube videos, not to show off them winning in PvP, but to show off, "I'm one of the people who had $100,000 to spend on a video game." And I think that was what they did. They wanted to get these whales, and they wanted to taunt the whales into spending that kind of money.
Yeah.
And they did. 5,000,
think
20,000 to 100,000.
one of these streamers, content creators, whatever, one of these content creators wanted to see how much he had to spend before getting the top gem.
Mhm.
That was like the rarest. Then you would have to go and do the loot boxes. I think he spent like $25,500 before that one gem dropped. That's crazy to me.
Well, it's by design, and I think that's if people have bad intentions, they're going to use the psychology to extract every bit of resources out of you. If somebody actually wants you to grow and develop, you're going to get something from that addiction, like maybe speaking in the typing or in this coding thing. I hate to end it here, but I actually have a very hard out, and if it's all right with you, Pablo, I'd like to wind down here.
Take us home.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody. I really appreciate you coming here to talk about psychology and psychotherapy. Our last 2 episodes were our biggest episodes ever. Please follow me on YouTube at Dr. Perrin. Every time you follow me, my reach explodes. If you even put Dr. Perrin in the search menu, I'm not the first thing that comes out. So like, we're not big enough yet. Like, please help the algorithm. Follow me on YouTube at Dr. Perrin. Follow me on Twitter at Dr. Perrin. If you want to see what we're building for our private training group and for Psychodynamic Book Club, go to join.thehopewelinstitute.com, which I think he just switched off of. But yeah, thank you guys. Pablo, take us home.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Remember, we broadcast live every morning. Every morning. I'm sorry, every
Every morning.
Monday. every morning, every Monday on X and on YouTube, roughly around the same time. We're talking about 7:15 ish Eastern time, 6:15 Central, which is where I am located. Just reinforcing again, like, subscribe, comment on YouTube and on X, and we might read your messages next time.
And
We also are open
if you want
for
us to stream every morning, pay us more money than our day jobs, and we will be happy to stream every morning for you guys.
100%. Anyway, well, thank you, Dr. Perrin, for, as always,
Thank you,
the
Pablo.
time
I
and the
wouldn't have a
great
show without
insights.
you.
All right.